You ever have one of those days where you feel like your brain is just completely out of battery? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into some really fascinating research from Princeton University that totally flips the script on why we feel so drained and distracted.
Right, let's start with a feeling we all know way too well. That feeling of being totally mentally fried after a long day. You're trying to focus, but it's like nothing is sticking. You've hit a wall, and you're pretty sure your mental battery is at like 0%. You know, for the longest time, the most popular theory was that our willpower is this limited resource, kind of like a tank of gas. Every decision you make, every time you force yourself to focus, you're burning through that fuel. And once it's gone, well, you're done for the day. But it turns out, newer research is showing that whole analogy is probably wrong. What if your brain isn't running out of fuel at all? What if instead it's actually making a really, really smart calculation about how to best spend its time? This brings us to a really cool idea from a totally different field, economics. According to this new theory, what's happening inside your head is all about something called opportunity cost. Yeah, your brain is basically a brilliant, tiny economist. So what exactly is opportunity cost? Well, simply put, it's the value of the road not taken. If you spend an hour scrolling through social media, the cost isn't just that hour. It's the hour you could have spent reading that book, or going for a walk, or learning something new. It's the value of whatever you gave up to do that one thing. And your brain is doing this math constantly, in the background. It's always weighing the value of sticking with what you're doing against the potential value of switching. Is it really worth it to keep grinding away at this report, or would it actually be more valuable right now to get up, stretch, check your email, or even just stare out the window for a minute? And here's the absolute heart of the idea from the researchers. They're saying that those feelings we usually hate, fatigue and boredom, they aren't just annoying. They are actually sophisticated signals about the value of doing something else that could help us perform better in the long run. So let's decode that first signal, fatigue. We usually think of it as a sign to just stop, right? But according to this theory, it's actually a signal to start a whole different kind of work, the super valuable work that happens inside your own head. Just think about learning any new skill, like playing an instrument or getting the hang of some new software. There's the part where you're actively practicing, sure, but your brain also needs some downtime to actually process all of that and file it away correctly, and that's where fatigue comes into play. Scientists have this incredible way of modeling this process. They call it replay. When we're learning something new and challenging, our brain has these little bursts of activity where it mentally reruns what we just did. It's kind of like a football team watching game tape to see what they can improve. It's powerful, it's efficient, and it's all offline practice. Now, this all happens in a part of your brain called the hippocampus. And these mental simulations, these replays, are way, way faster than real-world experience. They're like a learning superpower. But, and this is the kicker, your brain can't do this at the same time it's actively performing the task. It's one or the other. So here's the big takeaway. That feeling of fatigue, it is not your brain shutting down. It's your brain's inner economist telling you, hey, the opportunity cost of just pushing forward right now is way too high. The most valuable thing you can do is stop, take a break, and let me process what we just learned. Okay. So fatigue is the signal to stop and think. But what about its annoying cousin, boredom? You know that restless feeling you get when you're stuck doing something repetitive? Well, that's the other side of your brain's opportunity cost calculation. According to this theory, boredom is basically a signal that the return on investment for your current task has dropped to zero. You've squeezed all the juice out of it, you've learned everything you can, the well of new information has totally run dry. This chart spells it out perfectly. Imagine that blue line is your current kind of boring task. The reward is steady, but it's flat. Meanwhile, that red line, that's the potential reward of exploring something new and unknown. And just look at how the longer you stay on that boring task, the higher and higher the value of exploration climbs. Eventually, it just becomes irrational not to switch. This leads to a classic trade-off that we all face every day. Exploitation is sticking with what you know works. Exploration is taking a risk on something new that could be way better. Boredom, then, is the brain's built-in nudge to switch from exploiting what you know to exploring for something better. So boredom is actually a rational push to make sure you don't get stuck in a comfortable rut forever. It's your brain's built-in curiosity engine, basically screaming that the opportunity cost of staying put is now higher than the value of going out and seeing what else the world has to offer. All right, so when you put these two huge ideas together, fatigue as the signal to think and boredom as the signal to explore, you get this incredibly powerful new way of understanding how our own minds work. The biggest takeaway here is that these feelings are not failures. They aren't signs of laziness or a lack of willpower. They are features, not bugs. They're the feelings that perfectly match your brain's super sophisticated, nonstop cost-benefit analysis, which is always trying to optimize how you spend your time and energy. And this little table just lays it all out beautifully. Every state we're in is some kind of trade-off between acting or thinking and between sticking with what we know or exploring something new. So fatigue is the pull to think more about what you're already doing. And boredom? That's the push to go act on something totally different. So the next time you feel that wave of fatigue wash over you, or that little itch of boredom, maybe don't fight it. Instead, listen to it. Ask yourself, what is my brain trying to optimize right now? Because it's not a sign that your battery is dead. It's a sign that your inner economist is hard at work, trying to get you the best possible return on your most valuable asset, your attention.